Well, the first one I was like, it's worded a little strangely, but I'll just say, yeah, I was like, yeah, what do you need? And then it came back with that, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna let Kevin know that somebody's messing around. No, no, it was, it didn't.
But it looked, I mean, it looked like something we would have
I
gotten.
was, to be fair, I was driving when I tried it. So
Right. I love it. Security stuff that those images are probably not super secure themselves. Yeah, go ahead and click on your little logo there. See what you get. Yeah, just try to find out. Got to be the same link, but I'm still not the same. Jeff, do you have a meeting right now? See,
Yeah. Alrighty, it is 7:03. I guess we will start with the public hearing on the harbor management ordinance. Yes, background, and most people know already. We made just a few, the Harbor Management Committee suggested a few changes to the ordinance that governs the harbor for Damascus and Newcastle. And those were made and they're in the document here. Does anyone need any more background on that? Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns on the harbor management ordinance? Nope, easy enough. Then we will close the public comment section of the public hearing. And we will open the one on the joint shellfish conservation ordinance. Same thing, they made a few suggested changes to the ordinance, and over the last whatever, 6 or 9 months, we've been working on getting those changes made. Does anybody have? Well,
I'll just add that the state has already pre-approved.
Okay.
They'll approve it after we take it to public meeting or the special town meeting,
okay, so they've already given us thumbs up.
the
on it.
blessing.
Good, good. Does anybody have any comments, questions on the joint shellfish conservation ordinance?
Saw a typo.
No, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start this process all.
All over, right, I know. It was not a bad one, but. Shoot.
We did pick Louis.
No, it was
Did
like a
fix it.
random N or something like that. It was just really a typo.
Okay,
So maybe before we put it to the town for a vote.
before I put it out on the, if you find it, let me know what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, I should have taken a note and I didn't. Anyhow, that's all.
Okay.
Everything else was fine.
Good. All right, then, if there are no comments or questions, we will close the public hearing on the shellfish, I can't say that word tonight, shellfish conservation ordinance. And we will call the select board meeting to order. Does anyone have any amendments to the agenda for tonight? Nope. All right, then we will wait on the minutes. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Last week was a little bit crazy, so we will not worry about that.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments on items not on the agenda tonight? Nope, you guys are quiet. All right.
I found it.
Oh, good.
Uh,
Well, it's an item on, it's on your unfinished business.
it's
Okay.
He's telling me.
page 28, under procedure, line 1 or section 1, 4th line in that boards, and who shall transmit them?
Nope. We don't need-
28.
See it?
Which section?
Under procedure
B.
B1, it's the 4th line.
Oh, yeah. Of the select boards and, yep. I believe because it used to say select men and we missed the
didn't
N
get-
on the deletion.
That's all.
Okay.
Good. Good eyes, Rufus. All right, then unfinished business, we will go to the harbor management ordinance. And if there are no comments or anything on this, then we'll look for a motion to draft a warrant article for consideration of the amended harbor management ordinance at the special town meeting on December 10th, 2024, and notify the town clerk.
So moved on that.
Moved by Tor,
Second.
seconded by Ben. There are no concerns or comments, and all in favor? All right, passes 5-0. The top to go down to the bottom. Same thing for the joint shellfish conservation ordinance. We have a motion to draft a warrant article for consideration of the amended joint shellfish conservation ordinance at a special town meeting on December 10th, 2024, and notify the town clerk. So moved by Rufus, seconded by Tom.
And that document will incorporate the deletion of the letter N.
N. Excellent, as amended. Anybody have any comments, questions? Nope, then all in favor? All right, passes 5-0. Unfinished business 5C, the community action grant. All right, Kevin, I think you will have to give a little background on this one.
Okay, so normally I wouldn't come to the board with the minutia, but this is an important component of it. So right now, the community action grant is open for applications. So any town that's already become a community that's part of this, which we did as of July, I believe, or August 3rd, we were notified that we were part of it. So now we have the right to apply for this grant. In the resolution that we approved or the board approved back in June, there are some categories of areas where we're really going to focus in on. One of the low hanging fruits was putting solar panels on the roof of this building. So that was what our current proposal, staff discussion with our service providers was, let's do solar panels. We have additional funding. It's up to $75,000 for this grant round. It's due December 17th and will be notified of award by March. So it's a few months before we'd be awarded. It's up for $75,000. So staff met back in September to discuss, based on the sort of categories of focus, what should we be going for? So right now we were going to focus the 75 on getting a full solar array on the roof of this building to accommodate all of our municipal electricity use. Secondarily, purchasing battery backups for people to borrow during an event where they've lost power and want to keep their fridge going or charge a bunch of devices. They can come pick one up, bring it home. And then some education and outreach efforts that would maybe some magnets that would go out to people that say in an emergency, do this, that, or another thing. Those were really going to be our primary focus for this round. And as we've gotten some quotes, and in the packet includes two, and a third one just came in this afternoon. I forwarded it to you just a few minutes ago. The thought was, or concern was, especially after last week's election, if prices go up due to tariffs for material, and I don't know how many of these organizations source outside the country for solar panels or inverters or other components of a solar array, will we see price increases by March? So I got quotes today. Am I asking them to honor those quotes in 4 months when we don't know what the price of those materials might be? So one of the thoughts I had was, do we, or do I ask the board to, shuffle some of your budget around or use one of your reserves to go forward with the solar panels now while prices are halfway decent, be able to get the 30% rebate? Because I don't know if that'll exist in 6 months. Yeah, that was my concern, or that is my concern. And then use the grant for some of the other areas of focus we could potentially work on. So it's either, and I talked to the state rep who oversees the grant process. I asked, if we committed to one of the companies to do the build, but didn't do it till we got grant approval, could we, basically we would say we would do it if we didn't get the grant. And they said no. So it's either we apply for the grant for solar with the budgets I have, or if things don't work out and it goes up, we are going to have to change our scope in March. I don't know if that.
What would our annual savings be?
I figured it out to be, with the discount, with the 30% back, it'll take about 8 years to get a return on our investment. So the cost of our electricity would go away, but we have sort of that upfront payment would come out to be about 8 years before.
That's without the grant.
Without the grant.
So, and then if we got the grant,
Zero. Immediate.
I mean,
So why, if we can't get reimbursed, we can't say we're gonna go ahead and do it, let's get started, and then if the grant comes in, the grant pays for it. We can or cannot do that.
So I can't go and ask a company to buy all the equipment today and say, just buy it. And if we get the grant, great, the grant will pay for it. If it doesn't, then the town will pay for it.
Right.
I've been told that's not okay.
I mean, that makes sense. Question, the 30%, it says tax incentive.
It's a tax
Federal.
rebate. We get it.
Tax.
Yep.
So how do we claim that when the municipality isn't paying a federal tax?
It's a great question. I believe it's a rebate process through the Oh, there might be somebody here who understands it better than I do.
Is it, do you know, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it's a refundable tax credit.
Yeah.
that Part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It used to be just for taxable entities.
Yeah,
But they made a change, so it's a
Okay.
refundable for nonprofits or.
Got it.
government.
Municipalities.
okay, so it does exist. It's
We
a
do
real
get, we
thing.
would get a check back. I just don't know if that's gonna exist in 6 months, to a
Yeah.
year.
So if we got the $75,000 in 4 months and the prices had gone up, could we then decide?
We would change the scope, so we would say, like right now, I'm proposing to put together a package that includes 65,000 for the solar panels. And then later we get a check back for the difference of the federal tax credit. But we put up and say, for the grant, we want 65 for the solar panels, we want 7,500 for a couple of batteries. And a few $1,000s to do the education stuff we would want to do, so up to the 75,000. Now, if the project scope changes because the cost of the install is greater than the 65, probably come back to the board and say, we're gonna change the scope of our grant, and we're gonna have to share some of the costs of getting it done. So that was confirmed with the state. They said, yeah, you can change the scope. So if you need all 75 to go to the solar panel project, you just do all 75 for the solar panel project.
And even if we have to kick in another 75, it's still a 8-year payback.
Yeah, well, a little more because you're instead of 65
Sure,
to 75.
Sure, but
It won't go up that much.
well, but even if it does, it's still a fine investment, I guess is what I'm getting.
So yeah, I know I'm throwing this at you guys, but I just don't want to go forward with the grant proposal. If there's willingness or interest to use any of your reserve or any of your contingency to actually move forward with the project now.
So
Save money.
couple more questions. Is it a competitive grant cycle? There's limited funds and so many municipalities or,
They actually have a lot
Organization.
more cash right now, so it's a higher amount. There are more towns that are now part of the program, the partnership, and more towns every time they do this, so it will become more competitive over time. But right now they have extra cash to put towards this. So they're doing so. My other thought was, if the town wanted to go forward with the solar panels on our dime, the other options could be, battery backup too, using some of the grant money to put the battery backup in. Again, I don't know if costs are gonna go up between now and March, but it's kind of
the battery backup for what?
for this
For the
building,
buildings?
for this building and the fire station, like, idea of keeping the fire trucks fully charged, all the equipment fully charged. This is a warming and cooling center was sort of the long-term thought. First I was like, let's just get solar on to provide what we use for power. And then I start thinking about emergency needs or emergency weather events that cause most of town to go out, but we still have either a generator from World War II or some battery backup over here.
So the battery backup, are you thinking like Tesla walls or something like that, or these other little portable things?
I'm
Radio?
something a little bigger to accommodate all of the needs here, not just the little portable thing. The little portable things would be the things that people could take home to charge keep their fridge cool.
Yeah, to be said, like the Tesla, the
Yeah,
big,
I don't know if it'd be that specifically, but those
Yeah.
larger units.
So my immediate experiences with the battery backup,
Yeah,
they're not sufficient this is all heat pump.
Yep.
Run. It wouldn't last more than a half a day. Keeping this place warm with like 3 Tesla walls. So I think we're gonna have to rely on like burning diesel or whatever we have to do for generate. If this becomes an emergency center. For an undisclosed amount of time, we don't know. I think we're gonna need something that's a little bit more. That's sort of long lasting. I don't think the batteries gonna do it. I was thinking you were talking about like. These little portable things, like if people need their refrigerator
Yep.
and like, whatever.
That's part of what,
Yeah.
that's part of what the first round of this is.
Yeah, I think
And
that's,
those storage don't take up a lot of the extra electricity that the solar panels would generate, so it wasn't even considered in the expanding the scope.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good gesture. I mean, I'd like to, I mean, we've been talking about solar on this building for years and, we, I don't know, we keep on kicking it down the road. So my other question is, how about, the idea of massaging or making it come out of our budget? How do we do that?
Well, you have both and this is where the board makes these decisions, not me. You have your reserve accounts.
Yeah.
You could make a decisive action to say that what you're hoping to do in the future for replacing where town hall is or any kind of major replacement of a building, use some of those funds. You have 50 in your contingency.
Yeah.
And we still got to talk about snow removal, but
Yeah.
you have 50 in your contingency. There is some cost savings occurring in the rest of the general government account lines right now. When we're down a half a staff.
Yeah.
There's some areas where I could look to bring to you some suggestions for dollars to be shifted around to pay this.
I'm not sure I understand why we couldn't say, we're gonna go ahead and do it. Hopefully, we don't have to pay for it, but we will if the grant doesn't come through. Like, why won't they accept that? I'm,
The state.
yeah, as far
Well,
as
I
the
think
grant
it's a
goes.
combination of the two. It's one, it's signing a commitment with the firm. They might hold on to the material, but we don't commit to doing the project till March.
No, let's commit to doing it right now. And then why wouldn't the
'Cause-
grant be a reimbursement for what we've already,
Right, but
Done.
the grant doesn't allow us to go forward with the project ahead of it getting approved.
Oh, so we kill the grant possibilities if we
Or
just-
if we do the
just do it?
solar, if we do the solar now.
Yeah,
We kill the chance for getting the grant.
Yeah.
And I asked that specifically. I said,
Yeah.
can we move forward with this project? Because the timing is right, the funding is right. Concerns about changes to the federal process for getting money might affect that 30% rebate. It makes sense to try to go forward now.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if we don't start the project, but we commit to it, they buy all the equipment. Can we do that? And I got the
Yeah.
no. And that was face to face last Thursday. So.
it's unfortunate.
I mean. I guess I would play the odds, get the grant and then. Offset. The additional cost that the market's gonna bear. Yeah, that's my theory.
Okay.
I feel like something. We've been, I mean, I really just wanna do it. I mean, I really do, but we've been talking about this for so long, I mean, it just kind of. Jumping on it because there's this other pressure. To me, doesn't make sense. We could have jumped on this 2 years ago, really. That's my thought is
Yeah. I hate
apply for the grant and get the money and then
Rather than spend the money now and just do it.
that's my
Other thoughts?
opinion.
No,
That's kinda
I
how I was
agree. I
thinking.
think if the money's there, we do the project.
Yeah.
If the money's not there, we have the conversation.
budget for it maybe.
Yeah, bring it to the town and say, here's what we're thinking, here's the payback, here's the new pricing. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is this something that everybody?
Yeah.
Thinks is a good a good use of funds.
I do know that the 30% tax credit, I don't know anything about solar, but I know with other green energies like geothermal and stuff like that, they've always talked about those taking a step back every time there's like an administrative change. Or they're always set for a 5-year cycle or something like that. They get renewed to the last few times they've been renewed to the same extent.
Mhm.
They haven't gone down like a lot of people have speculated, so. I don't know if it'll still, I don't know if it'll still be able to be applied to a municipality like us, because it wasn't before, but that rule might change, which would throw everything out the window, but
We don't know.
you don't know, yeah.
I mean. My bet is we're gonna get the grant. Just because, I mean, other towns have gotten these grants and I think we're well positioned to get it. We just proceed at that point in time.
Maybe it's a portion of, it'll cover a portion of what the cost is. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, but that's the thing is, hate to, nobody has a crystal ball here and I hate to think, just speculate on what's gonna happen with tariffs, what's gonna happen with rebates. I mean, it's all up in the air, but I don't.
Well, to be clear, I don't anticipate not applying for the grant.
No,
I just didn't know if I was
I-
shifting priorities related to the items that are on that
I
list.
think we definitely have to apply for the grant.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, no,
Yeah.
but I just didn't know if we
Yeah.
were just gonna say, let's put the solar on the roof and do a bunch of other things with that grant.
Yeah.
Possible. That's- And you haven't said anything. Process.
I think when it comes to solar, I think there's a false narrative that's propagated through the years. That it's all about, when does it start making you money? And that's not the point. I think the point is, does it make sense to do it regardless of anything else? And so the questions that I would want to be asking are, what are the current prices of panels compared to, relative to where they were 6 months ago, a year ago? What are the costs of inverters? What are the costs of installation labor compared to where they were? And if they're at a really good, inflection point, does it make sense to do the project regardless of whether or not we have free money to do it with? Solar is something that we have wanted to do for an awfully long time. There is absolutely no doubt that regardless of whether we pay for it with the grant or pay for it ourselves, it's a net benefit to the town. So we're not throwing away anything by, if the decision is that solar is a smart investment now, regardless of the grant, then that should be the decision. And then the grant could be something, like you said, that we do something else with. Other things on the list. So I almost see it as two separate issues, specifically because of the timing of it, you know what I mean? I think that just lends credence to the argument that that we should treat these as two separate things. Waiting to see if we get a thing for the solar in March, and nobody's got a crystal ball. You're absolutely right. That's not the point, though. I think if the time is right to do solar, let's do it, regardless.
We don't know if the time is right, though, money financially, because we haven't yet talked about snow removal. That might impact
Well,
our
I mean, that
decision.
might, absolutely,
Yeah.
but it's not like, we're not impoverished in the town of Newcastle. We have, a couple $1 million in undesignated fund balance. $60,000 on that is a drop in the bucket. So, we're not hurting. We're not talking about having to raise taxes. We're not talking about having to do a whole bunch of other. The question is, does it make sense to get solar now? And I don't know, because I haven't spoken to folks in the solar industry recently, because I've bought all the solar panels that I need at the moment. And then, the second question, I think, in specific regards to the grant would be, if we don't apply for the grant with solar in mind, what would we apply for up to $75,000 to do? Because if those are interesting things that we might do with that grant money, treat the solar independently. That's just my thought. I really reject the idea that solar owes you something.
It's fair.
Nothing else in life is like that.
Well, I mean, it's like when we did the LED lights too. I mean, there was an attractive return on investment. And I mean, it was like, to me, a no brainer. It was like a few years and hey, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just cash positive after
Right.
that. Like, why are we even talking about whatever the cost was then?
Yeah.
For a few years for a municipality, but it was a discussion point and there was a lot of lead up to it. I think this is great, Kevin, for having quotes now. It's the first time I've actually seen, quotes quantified on, some kind of, just quantified so that we can actually assess it. Yeah, I agree with you, which I think we should make it a point to, and it's been on our priority list anyway,
It's a long time.
is to talk about this and make intelligent decisions, and I think we should do it regardless of what you know, the market is and the grants, and I think the grant would be a bonus at some point. But I think we should go for the grant anyway.
I think we definitely go for the
Yeah.
grant. I guess, I'd probably ask Rob, who has his nose or ear to the ground, not nose to the ground, ear to the ground. Regarding module prices and everything like that, and just, you know, ask where things sit at the moment. It's a question I probably haven't asked you in a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that, you know, things have been relatively stable, but, you know, huge uncertainty,
Sure.
you know, in the not too distant future.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I mean, you know, there are American-made modules, and actually in the proposal I sent to Kevin, that was American-made modules, but all the electronics are not American-made. So those could clearly be impacted by tariffs and things like that. You know, labor costs have not come down for anything, so but, you know, haven't been skyrocketing particularly recently. But,
And I can't do the math in my head. Is there a price per watt that we're?
250 is, I think, some of the,
Yeah.
around there.
That sounds good to me.
yeah, I think a little below that. I mean, I think the simple payback in what I put together was about closer to 6 years rather than 8 years. But, you know, I think, you know, one thing in the proposal I put together, I was proposing a hybrid inverter that could operate with batteries. Kevin showed me the lay of the building this afternoon, and I didn't certainly include it in this, but as we were leaving, he made an offhand comment about maybe putting a generator in. And if that were the plan, I would say do not put a battery system and save that would save at least a few $1,000s. You know, not going with a hybrid inverter so you can get the system costs down. And then put that money, like maybe you know, you could do a generator as a proposal for the grant potentially. Because obviously then, or you can't.
I wouldn't know this is specifically about climate resiliency.
Well, resiliency.
okay,
You know,
yes,
I mean, that's
that's
the whole
true.
point. Is the thing is as
They're creating,
you know, as Tor mentioned, you know, having enough battery. I mean, you're not going to have enough battery to run the heat pumps. I mean, you could run the rest of the building and have that, you know, the keep the furnace going, and have that, you know, as a you know a place where, you know, heating center and things like that. Running this room on batteries is ridiculous, would be crazy expensive. So there's a good argument from a climate resiliency, you know, heating center perspective to have a generator that could run the whole building, which would then save you money on the solar. And if that could be, if part of your proposal could be like, hey, we already did solar, and now we're asking for the money to do the next step in making this a resilient facility for climate emergencies, you know, that could be a kind of approach to do.
I mean, even if we did a, you know, basically a whole house, a whole facility generator with a large propane tank that could run it for several days.
Right.
That's gonna eat up the majority of the 75,000 right there.
Right, and yeah, and the thing is that as long as you keep filling that propane tank, it'll run forever. You know, batteries, I mean, the challenge with a battery backup system for, you know, an emergency facility is you're probably gonna need that when you don't have much sun out. So you're not gonna get much charge back in the batteries during the event.
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard for battery systems to compete with a generator in that sort of emergency situation.
I don't want to get caught in the weeds, but
Yeah.
the T3, the Tesla Model 3 has got integrated inverters. So I mean, you can, you know, you could get something to cover lights, furnace, set critical loads, and then have also the generator to do other pieces too. So
Right.
you could kind of have
You-
both. you know.
Right, I mean, and they're hybrid inverters that are more, I mean, we're more flexible with different battery systems to give you more options for
Right.
cost and size and all that. So there are lots of approaches to do that, but I think that if you're trying to go for the most cost efficient it probably just makes sense to, do solar strictly as a cost savings, generating your own power and doing net metering, and then the backup being, the generator mix. That would probably be the most cost efficient.
I mean, if we start our budget season early this year, February or something like that. Maybe there's time before the world blows up. That we can actually, we can actually figure out how we're gonna pay this in next year's annual budget, or set aside reserves, specifically because we want to invest in solar.
I'm still. I mean. I guess I'll just say it again, if the numbers make sense, if the math makes sense to invest in solar now, there's literally no reason we should put it off.
Well, I'm just saying this, though, we need money to do it. So to take money from other pockets to make do. We can do that, but we're also taking money from other pockets that weren't, wasn't thought about or, dedicated for, 3 weeks ago.
Sure.
So I'd prefer to think about it in a budget cycle and say, okay, this is how we're gonna fund this, not take money out of some other reserve that. We've never really talked about.
So there was one other proposal that I didn't suggest yet, and that was you do have a special town meeting planned for December 10th.
Mhm.
You still have time to add a warrant article to
Mhm.
use some of your unassigned fund balance to pay for the solar
Do that.
itself.
Oh.
And I do want to touch on what the other sort of categories were. They're kind of broad at this point, but again, it's infrastructure resilience, so it might fall in that asking for a generator to be there for the using this as a true warming and cooling center, even if this place loses power. Emergency preparedness for Newcastle and our community. With the current grant, I don't have enough money to really go after upgrading our website to do some of this stuff. That was one of the things I really wanted to get done in here was getting like notify me set up with our website so that people can get alerted when there's a major event or an event happening in general. Some of the other focus areas were mitigation of invasive species. I'm not ready to submit a grant for that yet, but something down the road in collaboration with Damascotta, because you can get more money if you do joint applications. We're going solo this time because of the $75,000. Preservation of biodiversity, land and water resources, again, something we should be doing jointly with Damascotta and our river. And then equitable community education and outreach. So we've incorporated some of that now, but we can enhance those. So those are the the initial focus areas. I think if the board wanted to utilize some of the funds we have, ask the town to support additional fund balance to go forward with the solar, one of the solar quotes we got. Now we can actually get that going, and the grant can focus on saying, hey, we're going to go do this ourselves. Help us by either doing the hybrid inverter and the battery and a generator to go with it.
I think that makes sense. And then if in our special town meeting, funding solar gets shot down, then we can submit the grant for solar.
As it's just the solar project.
That's just the solar grant.
I think that makes the most sense. I mean, I don't see any way in which a generator and a propane tank and all that is gonna cost any less than the proposals for solar.
Yeah.
It's either equal or more.
So can you come back to us with a proposal for whole house generator
In 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks?
Sure. Well, no, I would need it for the 10th, right?
The
Discussion for the 10th.
Yeah,
The
Correct.
generator?
well,
Why do
If we
need
go to the special town meeting
request money for the
for solar.
solar?
And at that time have numbers on hand for the costs of a generator
Just for
Okay.
Just
discussion
showing what the grant
purposes.
would look like,
or
if
the resiliency
component of this.
for the grant application.
Just as part of the
Just as
discussion.
as part of the discussion as a compare and contrast.
So, question, What's the big diesel thing that's in the middle of it?
Years ago, we had this conversation.
Yeah.
And at the time, our fire chief said, I can do it, I got it. So he went and bought an army surplus diesel generator that had like 30 hours on it.
Yeah.
That's what we got. It never got hooked up.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't work.
Well, no, it works.
But it's a diesel generator.
It is a behemoth.
And it's.
Yeah.
It's qualified to generate half the electric for.
The town.
This town.
I
yeah.
mean, it's crazy. It is, I don't even know
Yeah.
what the output is, but, we had poured a concrete pad out back, which has since been ripped up. And we started, I think maybe we got the hood vent through the wall out back.
Yeah, it sits in between the two bay
Sits
doors
in
out
between,
back
in the back.
Yeah.
Have you guys fired it up? You
every
know,
month,
what's that?
every month.
Every month?
Yep.
And you're generating some power, huh?
Yeah, it's worked every time we've had to
Great.
use it,
Great.
but
What's the,
What's the
it's a
challenge?
little cumbersome,
Yeah.
Yeah.
seeing as
It's
it's
a
in the back of a
hard-
building that's got, I mean, you have emergency lights, but you're also in a little bit of a rush.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's and that's, I think that's diesel only.
there's a lot to it. Maybe not worth getting stuck in the weeds on. I was gonna ask a question and I'm like, let's
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
not get into this.
No.
But I think the concept is good. You know, if you can, we have a meeting on the 25th.
Yeah,
But
I
that
can have an
meeting-
update for you then. You'll
have an
you'll have a
update
warrant article then.
And
So you can make a
know,
decision then.
know kind of, you know, how we're gonna
Generally where we're going.
generate the money to do it without the grant. I think that would be the goal for the
Yep.
solar.
And we have to generate the money to do the whole thing, even knowing that we're gonna get 30% back. Right? So we have to get the
Yes.
whole amount and
Yes.
then wait.
And then when we get the 30% back, it would just go back to the unassigned fund balance. Drop to the bottom of the line at the end of the year.
Mal,
Question about resilience. What generating capacities are available to the town in the case of basically major weather events for keeping gas stations able to pump gas?
super question.
It's beyond my pay grade, man.
No, because
Hmm.
you're right. During Superstorm Sandy, which I had the pleasure of living through, we had to drive, let's see, we had to drive about an hour and 40 minutes to get to the closest gas station in the Poconos to get gas for our generator. So nobody had generators to get the gas stations running locally. They do now.
I do know one of the two fuel stations in Newcastle has a generator.
Mike's
Oh,
place
Mike's
has a
place
gen-
has a
Good.
generator.
Yeah.
I don't believe Maritime does.
Correct.
So I apologize, Mel. It is not above my pay grade. I also serve as the town's EMA director, so I should probably have a management plan that includes which facilities have generators. So next month we'll be working on our EMA plan.
Yeah, Mike's has a generator. The issue is just tank capacity because. As you well know, when the forecast says big snow.
Yeah.
You can wait in line for quite a while to get gas before the storm even hits. And then when you go to fill up your generator after the storm has hit. There's no gas,
Well, but
Paper
again,
bags on top.
yeah,
there's bags on boom.
but a big generator like that will run on propane, won't it?
Yeah, so an automatic transfer switch on this building, so we're not using the diesel and plugging cords and anything like that. The power goes off, the generator kicks on.
It's propane.
And it's got a big tank somewhere on the property, maybe buried. Runs the whole thing for days, if not a week.
So although it's lovely to have a generator at the gas station, that does us no good if we need propane.
Propane is delivered by the fuel companies. They have their own
Right.
generators to,
Hopefully,
oh, no, I know.
they do.
Oh, they
Okay,
do.
Oh,
they do. Okay,
They have to be able to deliver fuel.
okay.
Throughout
That's-
storms.
That's where they make their money is during storms where they deliver propane to houses
Emergency call. fuel.
2-3 times.
Yep.
during the storm.
Okay, so that won't be an issue either then.
Thomas, how do you know this?
Well, you hear enough phone calls and say, no, my generator's not working, and it's like, I haven't checked the tank.
Yeah.
Cause it's been running for 3 days.
So no formal
Like the
action
Lincoln doesn't-
required or draft an article, so we can wait on the article until.
I'd ask you to have me draft an article to bring to you. You can either subtract it from your warrant, but you need to set your warrant
Okay,
on the 25th
Yeah.
for the December.
so we need an article to review.
Yep.
Yeah, because this is kind of.
So ask me to draft one and I'll do just that.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, please.
All right, then, do I have a motion to,
Question.
oh, yes, go for it.
So if you're going to put something on the warrant for a solar question to the town, does the town want to define what it wants for solar a little bit more?
Meaning,
Well, I mean, the battery, battery backup approach or not, I mean, there's lots of
I think the
variation in.
the
system.
initial request is
Is for
going to
money.
just be the money to put the array on. So grid tied with the expectation that then if we were to get the grant, it would, we could take it further. We could then talk about batteries or
The generator.
Generator.
and or both.
see how far that money would
But
go.
if you're getting town approval to get the money, you probably want to buy stuff. If the whole point is getting approval to be able to buy stuff for the world changes. You have to just know what you're buying. I guess that's.
You're talking about the invert, what we
Yeah,
get
the
for
inverters, basically.
Okay.
Basically inverters.
I think we're talking straight solar, not doing a solar.
Yeah.
And either microinverters or string inverters.
I think that's right. Just focus on that. Don't complicate it with battery.
Have you-
backup.
I would ask you, did you get up on the roof?
Um,
And do you know what the shading options look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. I mean, you get a little bit of warning shading from this roof. But otherwise, it's a little bit, east of south. I mean, it's pretty nice exposure.
I just didn't know if microinverters versus string inverters.
Probably cost wise, I would go, I said string, just for cost reasons, just to optimize, I think you gain something from microinverters, but I think that the cost effectiveness would say go string.
That's the size of the wires.
I'm gonna learn a lot in the
It's
next few
fine.
months.
We're very far in the weeds right now.
Yeah.
Are you gonna make a
Well,
motion?
We're far in
Yeah.
the
Well,
weeds, but
yes,
there's gonna be a non-trivial amount of electrical work that'll need to be done by someone. Both, for both projects. And so we'll need to know if we're doing one, if we're doing both, and what that will have to look like.
What I'm gonna take into account is what we've gotten for quotes.
Yeah.
And a little extra to cover any additional electrical costs. So I'm probably gonna ask for $70,000 to address these needs, and I can further clarify what that is before the December 10th conversation, and hopefully I can share with you my thoughts on the dispatch.
That sounds great.
okay. Then, do
Does
I,
that answer your question?
Somewhat.
mostly,
I mean, presumably the town would then do an RFP, once it's approval to get actual proposals, so.
Yep.
It's just it's what would.
Designing what that looks like.
What that RFP looks like is gonna be important.
all right, then do I have a motion to have Kevin draft a warrant article to what,
Utilize.
utilize
sign-
up to $70,000 of
Unassigned fund balance.
from the unassigned fund balance, yep. To include in the town meeting warrant for the board's consideration on November 28th, 2024,
So moved.
by Ben, seconded by,
Wasn't just-
well, we have
The
to,
warrant needs to
Oh.
be delivered to you that's the 28th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And then from that, you can
do
say
the next.
strike Article 3 or keep Article 3 and promote that as what goes on.
Okay, so seconded by Tor. Anyone have any other questions? How this works?
So the Article 4.
4, okay,
Well, we got joint shellfish,
Harbor,
harbor and shoreline zoning.
okay, so 4, yep. All right, then all in favor? All right. Passes 5-0. Let's see. Oh, 5D, downtown snow removal.
Boy,
Oh, this is not fun. All right, we got some numbers from Seth for the snow blowing portion, but we've also got the contract that we're working under right now.
yeah, I provided those two documents for you. I didn't know how to make heads or tails of what Seth sent me, so I just forwarded it on
You mean the summary, the email summary?
his email. I
Yeah.
did not summarize.
Yeah.
I just sent it to you because I couldn't make heads or tails of what he's
I
suggesting or promoting, pushing for.
I was hoping he was gonna be here. I mean, I don't know. I read
So
it over and over.
can we, starting since the snow removal contract is there and in force now. I mean, I don't, we've got a good relationship with the snow plowing is going great and everything. But I did just kind of scratch my head a little bit when I read, let's
Six.
see, 3, well, number 3 on it. First off, it's equipment. The contractor shall furnish adequate and satisfactory motor-driven equipment and manpower to efficiently perform the services as set forth in this agreement, which is removal of snow downtown. And then 6 says, snow dumping. The town shall annually obtain a permit from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection to discharge snow into the Damariscotta River. The contractor will follow the terms and conditions of the discharge permit to limit pollutants to entering into the river.
Oh, yeah, how is that not include a snowblower?
It doesn't say that, right?
I mean, if our permit says it goes off the bridge into the river, then get it into the river.
Figure it out. When
Yeah,
that seems to say,
yeah.
although,
I mean,
going based on what we've always done, this is a big
it's
change.
different, but if
Right.
our permit, it says according to our permit, it doesn't say anything if the permit changes. It doesn't refer to a specific permit, it refers to a permit.
Yeah, there's no specific dumping site,
No,
just the river.
I mean, if it's on the river out here, if it's the river up by the bridge.
So that, right, that obviously jumped out at you too. So I'm like, it does say that. Yeah, and then looking at the proposal, my big question coming out of that was, how much are we being charged over what period of time for this? Are we looking to pay the whole cost of the snow blower over a 3-year period, a 5-year period, an 8-year period, a 10-year period? If we're paying the whole cost of it, is it ours at the end? If we're paying the whole cost of it, they're prohibited from using it elsewhere. Are we not paying the whole cost of it? I couldn't figure the answer to any of those questions from the email. Anyone else have any insights?
My question, I guess. Can this loader and blower at $2,500 an hour do 25 times the work that a skid steer at $110 an hour do?
Meaning that's what they used in the past?
Well,
The skid steer?
they have snow blowers on the skid steers to do the sidewalks.
Correct.
Why isn't the proposal to
Just use them.
use that to blow it off the bridge?
Would it be because it takes a lot longer?
Yeah, but does it take
Right, that many-
25 times longer?
No, snow doesn't show up at once.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, I mean, if you have to get rid of a foot of snow in the downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be making multiple runs out there.
Right,
You're not
it's
gonna-
gonna happen over the
I
course of
mean,
8 hours.
it might be at an inconvenient time where you're doing it at 10, again at 1, again at 4 in the morning. It's an inconvenient time making multiple runs at it rather than stockpiling it and then waiting for 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then just dumping it on. But I've got the same.
I think-
kind of
I think $250,000 piece of equipment that lasts 10 years is bonkers. I
With no
don't think,
salvage value.
I don't think there's any way that we should agree to that. I think for $250,000, we could do a lot of other things that might be a lot longer lasting. And I don't know, to make that decision like now, like, can we give it a year? Can we discuss it for a year and see how this winter goes? The extended forecast for this winter is kind of warm and kind of dry.
Well, this is an indication.
So why are we jumping into this without really researching it? That's my feeling.
I guess I'm just a little uncomfortable with the magnitude of the number, which is
Mhm.
an increase of 100 and, so current contract is 54,000. Right? We're- To do the snow removal, we're adding 115,000. It's
Or more, right?
300% more, or at least 200% more than what we're contracted to do, just to get the snow off the bridge. That seems crazy to me. You know, the sum of that over the next 7 years, we're looking at, $900,000 cost to the town for a $250,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there's labor in there, there's,
Right.
but there's already people working to remove the snow. I mean, there's already people doing this job. It's not like we're starting from scratch somewhere. So I'm having a hard time reconciling all the numbers to make it seem fair to the town. The other thing too is, I hate to say, but, I mean, did anybody approach the property owner and say, we'll give you $100,000 for the next 3 years? Just,
No, haven't gone.
just, I mean, we'd still be way ahead of
Way
the,
ahead.
yeah, and who wouldn't say, yeah, sure. I'm just saying, I feel like there's some other negotiation that could take place here.
That's why I say jumping into that doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to me.
We can roll the dice for a year and see if we can come up with a better solution.
Yeah.
We also have the option, if I hear back from Peter on it, there is a right of way still where we've been dumping. Right up against the road. On the Damascata side of the bridge.
Pulled the map up last meeting,
Right,
that it would require probably $15,000 to $30,000 worth of work
Right.
next spring, summer. to
move
make
the
it
hydrant,
work.
fix it and do something with it.
Mhm.
And
And that would be a
Just-
permanent solution.
Yes,
And it would also be, give Damascata a year to see how it works dumping it on the boat launch, and they may decide that they would split the cost with us to do that as well.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think for this year, we let Seth know that he's got the option to either, I guess, truck it to the landfill or use a skid steer to snowblow, use existing equipment to get it into the rig.
landfill would need some, it's been
Need work.
years since it's been used, it would need some work up there. We took a walk up, I got covered in ticks, but he and I
Sure.
took a walk up.
How,
there.
like, how much? Not $250,000 worth of work.
No, but it was still some expense, and then there's the
but the
expense of trucking
trucking,
it.
the trucking, it would be very expensive.
I understand.
Yeah.
I do.
I still think the skid steer approach where, yes, you pile up snow, and if it's a really bad winter, then we figure out some other location to dispose of it and pay for the trucking, but
Yeah, I mean. That number boggles my mind.
Yeah.
It's. I don't think we need to jump into that. I think we need to. Muddle through the year.
Right. And
actually discuss what the other options are, and, maybe it's we. Put a site that we can push to on the piece of property that. That the town is, I mean, even if we have to give the. Purchase price. That the grant covers back, it's still cheaper.
That's crazy.
We could build a parking lot on that site and have municipal parking 9 months out of the year and a snow dump site 3 months out of the year for less money than this. Yeah. I think let's give it a year.
What are we gonna do with the snow this year?
Use a skid steer to blow it over the bridge.
Okay, because when Seth was here talking to us about it, I didn't hear from him that that was an option.
Is it not?
It's contractually an option.
How did they get it over the bridge in years past?
They didn't.
Push.
We,
Okay, no, they did. I mean, they pushed it over in on the Darmstadt side of the bridge, but how did they get it? They just
They had a loader, front end loader. They just
pushed it over. Okay,
They stockpiled it through the storm and then
okay,
Yeah.
pushed.
with a big loader.
They have a short amount of time for disposal into water.
Mhm.
There's a short amount of time after a storm
Right.
ends, that you have to get that done.
Right.
And then there's the other type of permit, which is a dump, snow dump. And so this does say snow dump, but it's actually disposal.
Okay,
Dumps have a whole nother permitting process and are usually taken off site. I've communicated with the DEP that we are discussing locations for either one or both. But I haven't submitted an application today. I have it drafted and ready to go. I just wanted to know where the heck I'm going with this. So the one question is gonna be if his crew are out there for, you get good sized snowstorm and his crew is out there for, I don't know, 8 extra hours, are we compensating him for that staff time and machine time that otherwise would have been a disposal? Because I know that while the language of the contract specifically says the river, and technically we're gonna look for an application that goes in the river. It's
Right.
requiring a very different type of equipment and ideally staff time. We have no snow this winter and, he's getting a check for $50,000. So that's sort of the trade-off.
I wonder what would it take to get the property owner in Damascus to change his mind for 1 year? With a little bit of guilt on that he waited so long to tell us, he's put us in a bind, maybe a little bit of a sweeter pot might help.
Well, I think his concerns are really about liability, but I believe that the municipal
Well, and
framework, right,
The
and but I mean, if there's an agreement that says if there's property damage, we're liable for it. Related to that, related to snow
Yeah.
removal.
I mean, I was thinking you could pave his whole parking lot,
For less than,
put up a removable barrier that you take out when the snow flies. To keep safety in check. Or a lot less than what this is proposing. I mean, when I look at the first option, $148,000 annually. All risk is on the contractor. It's like. Doesn't make sense after a 5-year contract, you tripled the value of a piece of equipment. I don't understand how these numbers.
well, I think also don't forget, his contract is for the downtown, it's only 1 year left. Only
Right.
1 year remains on this.
I
contract.
understand that,
Yeah.
yeah, but the magnitude of that number, to me, I'm trying to reconcile. And I'm looking at it from the contractor's perspective too, which is, this isn't just a snow blower, it's an attachment to a large piece of equipment.
Right.
So you're not only just using a $250,000 piece of equipment, it's attached to $1 million piece of equipment or
Right.
$800,000.
Correct.
So you're tying up that piece of equipment to be used in other.
One specific use.
Right, for that. So I get that. But it is winter and it is, it's all a machine to move, and that machine exists already. It's not like we're buying a loader and a snow blower for, $1 million. I had the question too, is if we had that attachment as the town and we just bought it for $250,000 and let it sit in the parking lot, and every time snow comes, it gets used, hooked up and, town pays the mortgage on that, is that an option? It's like $50,000 a year is the cost of that. I mean, it's a crazy example, but I'm just wondering, we're essentially funding a piece of equipment that could be used for other projects as well.
Well, I think,
So,
his option number 2 of the hourly rate,
right,
for that reason, would make the most amount of sense.
and that's where, I think, right,
I think if that is the only way that he can see to solving the problem, then that's maybe our best option. I don't know. I just even the blended rate of $115,000 a year.
Right.
Plus an hourly.
Well, the fourth option is we just, we say we have no appetite for this piece of equipment. And we'd like you to, give us a number for a contract amendment using equipment that you have. Man hours
and dump it.
and dump it however you can, just for 1 year, while we work on a permanent solution. Because we don't have those.
Right.
I don't. As a contractor, I do not like the idea of someone changing the contract. The scope of the contract on me, requiring me to do a lot more. Without even offering. to Talk
Yeah.
about contract amendment, that's just.
Sure.
No, we shouldn't.
No, and in fairness to the contractor, the game's changed. Nobody anticipated, the sweet deal of dumping it over somebody's lot and selling and the new owner having a different perspective on that. So that was an unforeseen condition.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean. I think about how young and naive we were back in 2018 when we signed this.
Yeah.
$46,783. Next year, when I go to do a new one, it's gonna be. Double.
So I mean.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think-
not saying that
I
we
think
should
fair is fair.
hang him out to dry and not
No,
not compensate him. I'm just saying that compensation for that piece of equipment, personally, I don't think makes sense. I think if it does make sense, let's take a year and think about it and look at all the other options. And if that means that we have to pay to truck snow,
We'll all pray for a light snowy winter.
then
From
now
now,
it's not gonna happen. Thank you.
Oh, if I only had such control. Yeah, I'm not jumping on this either. So maybe that can be one of the questions to Seth is how can you do it with what you got and how do we?
amend the contract to make
Take
it sound
that.
fair.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll have a conversation.
I think it's important that. We're not looking to hang him out to dry.
No,
Nope,
no,
Obviously
obviously not. He does a great job and that there is value in that. This just seems like, the
There's
$1 million
too far-
option.
too far, too fast.
Yeah, yes, too far, too fast. Thanks.
And there's a middle ground in there between. What's being proposed now and. Just. Pull it off the side of the Lincoln skid steer. And there's ability to compensate them. Adequately, meet in the middle. I mean, both, it's not like either side has one over. Proverbial barrel here.
Mhm.
I mean, it's, the contract is contract. And it can be interpreted. From both sides to. Benefit each side.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's. We just gotta work together and find where that middle ground's gonna be, and
maybe part of his reticence was that it's gonna require closing at least one side of the bridge to all foot traffic, if not, severely impacting vehicle traffic as well.
But it also was in the
During
middle of a
after the storm.
storm.
No,
Yeah.
during and after the storm, because after the storm is usually when they were,
Yeah, no, but it's not. It's usually a couple days. I mean, it's,
it's over the course of a couple days.
yeah, I mean, it's not,
So if you're, you'd
So
have
it could
to,
be, okay.
you'd have to look for places to store it all.
Right.
While it's happening. And then one truckload at a time, basically dump it on the sidewalk of the bridge.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Skid steer takes care, so you're closing off.
One side.
To all foot traffic and it'll severely impact. Vehicular traffic as well when it's happening, so. And. I get that he doesn't want to get yelled at any more than he already is,
And
and he will,
he'll take, he'll
he'll take
feel-
all the heat.
Yeah.
Of our decision. So,
Yeah.
I think it's important we recognize. Not just say, it's in the contract, you gotta do it, suck it up.
yeah, I don't think anybody's saying that.
No.
Not for a second.
No, I
And I'm
agree,
sorry.
I just wanna be clear, that's all.
Yeah. I mean, but these numbers give me a pit in my stomach, to be honest.
All right. I think everybody all right, moving on then. We'll see if we can find something middle ground. Cause that is painful.
Hmm.
All right. 6A, new business, recall of elected municipal officers ordinance. We won't take this personally.
So the background does specifically
Oh,
say,
I'm sorry, though, I didn't ask, did anyone have any comments or questions on what we were just discussing? Should have asked that earlier. No, okay. All right. Go ahead, Kevin, sorry.
I'm not implying any misdeeds of our elected officials. Not here any. This is just sort of our kind of process of going through our ordinances. This is one of the last few general ordinances that need to be reviewed. We got several land use ones to get to, but I wanted to try to get these general ones done. Ideally, if there's concerns or issues or things you want to change or suggest. We can start now, we can wait, that's fine. I just wanted to get it out there, and I think this is a March. We'll look to address this in March for a special town meeting then. Mostly just trying to clean up, I mean, some of the references were to things that the state has changed.
Yep.
Locations, and so Michelle did a good job with the first read through of this to make sure that it was in compliance with what we do today. So I'm really grateful she took the lead on looking at that. They see greens and purples, that's me and Michelle just jumping around.
The change to the main law. Several years back was. Correct me if I'm wrong, it used to be that you could only invoke this when the elected official was convicted of a crime,
Yeah, I think so.
and they removed that condition.
No.
And now you can be removed at any time following this
Process. And if this process doesn't work for you and you wanted to just get rid of the ordinance, there is language in the state statute. But the state statute says, this is what you use if you don't have an ordinance. Ordinance just gives a little more framework for staff to follow than the state statute does.
As far as the petition.
The petition
and all that.
process, yeah, it still says 10%. There's no changes there. It's more, we define initiator and petitioner a little bit more here. So I didn't put a lot of language around petitioner. Just has to, ideally what you have is, you have a resident who's upset with what a board member did or a decision of the board. They can go basically come into the office and say, I'd like to fill out or establish a petition process. Okay, notified, here's the things you need to do in your document. Come back with those, and you need to have like maybe the petitioner signature at the bottom. I don't think I've clearly defined it all there, but I just wanted to get this started. Or you can scrap it all and just say follow state statutes.
So this is
No.
not going on the warrant for the special town meeting.
No, this is March. This is March. I'm. Can't do any more for.
That's great, that's fine. The only question I had was section 5, item B. The select board upon receipt of the certified petition shall within 10 days of receipt, 10 days time of receipt. So, you know, depending on when that falls, that may require an emergency meeting of the select board. So I didn't know if that 10-day is a requirement of MRSA section 2528, or if that was simply a copy from the previous section 4, where it says within 10 days, working days of receipt, the petition, the town clerk shall certify the signatures, which the town clerk can do because the town clerk
Is there
a
every day.
full-time
Yeah.
job, and that's what they do.
Where was, I'm sorry, where was the other
Section
one?
5.
B.
The section, item B, yeah. So I didn't know if we can make it 14 days, that would make it so that we never have to have an emergency town meeting, an emergency select board meeting. To respond to the,
Well, we
Um,
still
but-
would if we have one of those 3-week
Yeah,
between
I
meetings,
14 wouldn't cover it in all cases.
right?
oh, you're
But
right,
in most.
But in most it
In
would,
most.
yeah,
Oh, 3 times a year, I guess it would, right?
but most of it would.
Ah.
And it could then too, if it was closer to the meeting time.
What's wrong with the emergency meeting anyway then?
I guess it's fine, it's just, it's less likely that. Anyone from the public would be here because to have an
Yeah.
emergency meeting, you
Yeah.
just notify the paper and you're off, so.
Yeah.
If it's at a regularly scheduled select board meeting, and I don't know if we can say at at the next
At the
regularly
next.
scheduled. Select board
Yeah.
meeting, that would be my preference, because then it's on the agenda, people see it, they come, they're, well, why is
Yeah,
this on
I'm
the
with
agenda?
you. It is within 10 days. I mean, you could make it within 21 days and cover all.
Is that a number that
Situation.
we're allowed to change?
I'll have to verify that. I don't know
Okay.
the answer to that off the top of my head.
I mean, it's within, if there's something egregious going on, you could call an emergency meeting the next day and
You could,
10 days,
do it that way.
10 working days,
that was the only thing I
Or-
saw. Question.
Yeah.
next regularly scheduled.
Just about timing.
Well, if you have it within 10 days, it's still gonna force, it's not gonna allow us to have it at a select board meeting often.
Well, I could also look to clarify, receipt of the certified petition could be at a meeting, at your next meeting, and then has to be decided by the following regularly scheduled meeting,
Okay.
is what I would look into, but I have to verify that it doesn't
We're not
go in
required to do
violate
the
of
10, yeah.
something that's a
Yep.
state statute.
Just since we're
Good
right
call.
there,
Thank you.
since we're right there, just go down to C. We
Mhm.
just got some verbs that don't,
5C?
5C, yep. In the event that the select board fails or refuses.
Okay.
It's just my grammar hat.
No, the black is the original language,
Yep.
so
Yep, and when it was select men, that was correct. We are no longer select
Right.
men. Entirely,
that's you, Karen.
that's me. I'm particularly sensitive to that.
I don't blame you. And the state statute does now say select board.
Yep.
So all towns that they still say Board of Selectmen is actually out of compliance with the state statute.
I didn't see anything else that jumped out at me as crazy or different or out of line.
This might be a dumb question,
No
but
such thing.
section 2. We have us. And Great Salt Bay Sanitary District, School Board, that's an elected official, right?
They are, but they follow under different.
Okay.
Under different state statute. I had the same question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It says they're exempted right in the title of it.
Yeah, there's a whole nother process for school board members.
Oh, yeah, I thought we were just getting past that.
But you kind of knew what the header said
Yeah,
in your mind. Did anyone have any comments, questions, suggestions? All right. there's nothing else, then I guess we'll just work on that again at the next meeting.
Make some changes and
Right, then. Let's see, do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 25 10th AP warrant in the amount of $212,025.40?
So
Some of
Moved by Tor,
Yeah.
seconded by Ben. Did anyone have any questions on it or? I guess, do I not see it over there?
you don't, because I left it in my office, so I have to request
Okay.
visitation.
I was going to look at it because I would assume you don't know off the top of your head. The only thing that made me wonder was what are Property Care Plus various extra mowings under the cemetery mowings? Do you happen to know off the top of your head? I don't expect you to, but
I don't. Off the top of
Okay.
my head.
because
and
they
I will-
mow, so what are various other mowings? You know?
requests for. It's a great question.
We can
Could
look,
that be
okay.
like leaf removal or something?
It could be the pit, pick up tree branches or something along those lines. It's just sent to us in an invoice as other mowings.
Okay.
I know I've had that before when I asked them to clean up one of the cemeteries, a whole bunch of leaves didn't were blown into a corner and asked them to come remove them. I will also mention that in this, there's quite a lot of money for Colby and Gale for fuel.
Yeah.
We did do in our, a
Prepay.
little, we prepaid it and we had been working with Dead River. We did get we didn't use all of ours last year. So we got a rebate of about 1,200. So it's offset, that's being offset by about $1,200. But we did save about $800 by calling around.
Good. And the prepay usually, well,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Well, we're gonna do that every year. I don't think we've done it for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to say 9 years we were at Dead River.
Okay.
Thanks to Michelle for making the phone calls and
Absolutely.
asking around.
Did they offer any kind of service agreements or anything like that?
I don't have,
Any
just,
equipment?
I think it's just the. I didn't go that route yet.
Yeah.
Probably should look at that for the future because I don't have a facilities manager, so. I'm not taking.
Really?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and then we've started paying for our snow plowing already.
Correct.
That's
And
quite a
we
bit too.
prepaid for some of our prior months that.
Yep.
We just finished the contract. Signatures.
Anyone have any other questions?
Mm-mm.
No, then all in favor of approving the warrant? This is 5-0. Then I think that's, whoops, it's up top, Kevin, I think it's you now.
I don't have my document open.
All right. Managed report, there we go.
Yep, and I sent you both the report and the financial report. I won't bore you with the financial report, but our finances are fine right now. I think we're only at like 21% of the year and we're at 33% of the year. So we've only spent 21%. And if you just break it up by, we're okay. Financially, we're okay.
I'm trying to think what our big,
Our big expense right now was the CLC ambulance bill, which we pay all up front.
Right.
So it makes our public safety budget look out of whack. But if you amortize that, we're still below budget.
and then our big one that comes later that will jump things up is the Academy Hill payment. It's $200,000. I think that's a one-time
Yep.
deal as well.
Yep, we have a couple of those. I typically see we pay our attorney one time, one lump sum, so that usually impacts us at the beginning of the year.
Right.
We've been with a vacancy for a few months now, so that's sort of offsetting the general fund that way, or the general government section of our finances. So overall, we're doing okay.
Good.
Not buying a snow blower, giant snow blower right now will probably help that budget too. I did get a message from Lindsay Johnson, our superintendent for the Great Salt Bay. She did confirm that today the Department of Education approved the withdrawal from AOS 93. So come July, as part of this budget process this year, Lindsay will be coming to us. Is it Bremen and
Yep.
and Damascotta for their budget process. AOS Central will not be part of that at all.
No, and I assume everybody saw in the paper that the meeting that we went to, Tom, they're not doing the service center thing
Correct.
that they talked about doing.
So, I'll just move on.
Yep.
Damascotta parking lot. I got a message from Mandy today. You're getting those notifications. This is what he shared. Quick update on the status of the parking lot for this week. The parking lot will be closed Wednesday, which is tomorrow. Crews will be paving on the east and grading on the west end. Deliveries may still be able to access with limited interruptions. Thursday, parking will be available from Taco Alley to Rennie's. I, as a non-native Newcastler, don't even know what Taco Alley is.
So that's one of those where you have to remember, it's like you turn left where the tree got hit by lightning 3 years ago.
I wasn't
It's
here.
one of those, right?
Oh, okay, I
There
got
used
you.
to be a restaurant that served tacos down there.
Well, there were two, I mean,
There was.
Tacos was there for a long time and then
Yep.
Kiriko moved in there for a while.
Right.
And,
Okay, so where Rufus is
And-
talking about
and they,
from there to
and they stopped and then you came to town.
Yeah.
So I'll show
It's
you next
Taco
time.
Alley.
No, next time we're in Damascotta, I'll point it
Okay.
out.
So from Taco Alley to Rennie's, parking will be available, and then crews will be finished grading the west end of the lot and preparing for paving. This is Thursday. And if you want to enter exit, you'll do that from Water Street. And then Friday, parking will be available, same Taco Alley to Rennie's. Crews will be paving the remaining portion of the lot and enter exit from Water Street. There is a link in the report for a map for places to park in the area. I did reach out. I vaguely recall somebody saying, "What's going on with the LCI or the Tidewater?" That was Karen. Okay, somebody did. So I did request some more information. They sent both the letter and the fact sheet both attached with instructions on how to apply. They had identified about 80 unserved locations in Newcastle. They've received 40 applications from those 80. So they need to do another push to try to encourage those to sign up and get connected. So they're going to send out more mailings and they want to do a public information session probably sometime in December. So we're coordinating with them to get this space used for a public information session and get people signed up.
What I noticed they didn't say is when are the people gonna be up and running?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a really great question. Yeah, I mean, I do see the fiber trucks out there pulling the lines.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think from what I gather, they pulled most of the fiber. It's gonna be the drops, and
Mhm.
they had a contractor doing the poles, but they're making the connection, so I'm sure that's gonna probably be the part where it starts to really drag out. Just
Great.
because you have
How many people?
how many, yeah, you have limited amount of people and stuff like
Mm.
that, so.
I'll follow up with when will people actually start getting this service? And if they've signed up, but it looks like about half of them have signed up so far. And by pulling these lines, they do make it easier to get to some of the underserved folks.
Right.
So if you're interested, give them a call and see if you qualify or can get connected at some point here in the future. I do know they focused on getting to those underserved and doing routes that also tried to get to the underserved as well.
They on and under.
Yeah. On and under.
Mhm.
All right, so I also put a section in here about upcoming events, because there's quite a few of them. So this Thursday is this Neighbors Helping Neighbors, sharing stories and preparing for winter storms. That's Thursday, the 14th from 5 to 7 at the Adamic Valley High School cafeteria. That's in Waldoboro. This is a community event where we're providing dinner and having table conversations about how you may have experienced the last couple of storms last winter and how the services that are available, service providers that will be in attendance as well. So there'll be sort of like a walk around and talk to some of the providers, learn more about what's available in our communities. But we also are collecting information from residents about their challenges so we can be better prepared. I've been involved as an on the advisory committee for that. That's why if you see any flyers out there that say Town of Newcastle, because I've been providing some of my hours to assisting preparing for this event. Newcastle Public Workshop on the Village Partnership Initiative. That's next Tuesday, and that's from 6 to 8. That's here. This is the Village Partnership Initiative project. We'll have a presentation from Wright Pierce and T.Y. Lin. They're the project engineers on the outcomes of the traffic counts performed this summer and preliminary concept plan for pedestrian and vehicle improvements in the downtown. So they have a couple of options that they've been able to design based on traffic counts. It'll be good to get the public's input about which direction we should be vying for as we take that next discussion with the DOT about funding. Then it'll go to the full engineering process and then they get funded someday in the future. But we're going to chase down every option we can, but we just want to get that final input on some of the ideas that came out of the work that they put together.
Do you know if any of those materials will be available for the meeting?
Yes, they will. You don't have in my packet here is the flyer for it with links to some of the designs. What we hope to do is provide that information ahead of time so people come prepared with thoughts or concerns or questions.
So be on our website.
It'll be available on our website in the next couple of days.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I hope.
When you have your website manager hat on.
Yeah, when I'm wearing that one. So there's more information here. This project started in early 2024. We had our kickoff meeting back in February. Really, the wait was waiting to get the data collection, the vehicle counts from the summer when we have our highest traffic counts. And now we're finally to a place where we're ready to share some of and we had a stakeholders meeting, then we had a outreach meeting, and now we're going to have this third version of an outreach meeting to try to get any final feedback before moving this forward.
Advertising on this paper?
It's in the paper. It'll be in the paper Thursday.
Okay.
Basically, whatever written in here is a copy from the press release for the most part. The other event that's happening, Midcoast Humane Society next Thursday, November 21st at 6 p.m. at the YMCA. Staff from the Humane Society Midcoast Humane Society will be there hosting like a town hall meeting discussion about the Edgecombe facility. So if people don't know, Midcoast Humane Society serves as our town and all of Lincoln County towns, animal shelter for stray and surrendered pets. So we sort of have a contract, an annual contract with them to provide that service for the town. They acquired the Edgecombe facility that used to be under a different organization's name. That facility is on its last legs. So they're trying to figure out where and how they're going to provide services for our region in the future. Because their main location is in Brunswick, not even up here. But that facility can't be sustainable. So they want to have a conversation with the community. If people are interested in listening or have ideas or thoughts, they're open to it. So that'll be at the Y at 6 p.m. on the 21st. And again, the core zoning code, we're working through some potential fabrication changes to district. In addition, when I sent our request for $10,000 to the state for our work on the LD 2003, I also had to submit our changed version. I got some feedback. Well, Michael and I got some feedback. They wanted a couple additional tweaks. So we'll be bringing those, looking to first go to the planning board for their take on it, bring it back to you guys, and we'll look to address this in March. And then I can get a check. But I got to do it before June because then the money's gone.
March then.
Yeah, $10,000.
Let's do it in March.
We've definitely put in the hours. So Those are the core zoning code amendments. that Hopefully come in front of you. soon. That's what I have.
Alrighty. Anyone have anything else? No. And without objection. Ben always smiles, but we'll try to remember, adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Well, we will adjourn
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
without
yeah.
objection.
No objection.
Are you objecting?